Architecture, which shares its home with the American Institute of Architects New York chapter. My name is Fu Yong, and I co-chair the Planning and Urban Design Committee together with Jessica Morris, who's right there in the audience. And our committee is a platform for practitioners and communities to explore innovative strategies and advocate for livable neighborhoods, which is a really fitting frame for this evening's event. Before we begin, I'd like to note that this program is being recorded on video and that this program for AIA members who are in the house or attending live qualifies you for 1.5 HSW learning credits. And you know, this evening has really special meaning to me in that there's a group of leading urban designers at City Planning who have created an expansive set of work that spans scales, dimensions, and intentionalities across our 5 boroughs. And this notion of connection can be made. It's made to connect people, place, and purpose. And I think that's really humanizing. I mean, think about the era of rampant technology and climate changes we are facing. The way in which this humanizing element, which you'll see as guidelines, is quite impressive. And I want you to think about that as you hear from a wide array of speakers tonight who are practicing these principles. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to the 2024 President of the American Institute of Architects New York chapter, Greg Schweitzer.
Okay, let's just make sure this works. Good evening, good evening, good evening. And welcome again to the Center for Architecture. It's my pleasure to be with you all here tonight. And I want to pay special thanks to the AIA Planning and Urban Design Committee and the New York City Department of City Planning for coordinating this event tonight. The purpose of tonight's event is to launch a refinement of the DCP's 2017 Principles of Good Urban Design. The question of who takes part in designing our city has often been seen as a matter of privilege. Who actually gets a seat at the table? The decisions made in these rooms have a great impact on those often left out. These questions and more are central to my presidential theme this year, which is Belonging and Beyond, which centers on the crucial aspect of human well-being that improves the physical and socio-emotional health and resilience for individuals and communities. I have to admit, when I was first asked to share a few words at this event, the title with this huge captioning that came across on the page jumped right out at me, Democratizing Design. That was something that I thought would be a perfect direct link to this whole notion of belonging. With my theme, belonging is this sense of a deep connection. It's a call to action for us to focus especially on those in areas of affordability, exclusion, displacement, homelessness, climate change, and other patterns preventing other people's sustained connection with physical places and with each other, while humbly acknowledging the importance of the many voices and wisdom of those close to the design challenges and opportunities that are crucial to what we do as architects. Urban design impacts all New Yorkers and informs a wide range of issues, from discussions of individual buildings, streets, parks, broader questions on how the built environment can improve the health outcomes, address environmental needs, and adapt to societal challenges. The Principles of Good Design Guidebook offers a core set of values and terms that New Yorkers can use to evaluate, discuss, and advocate for good design in these conversations. The guidebook also showcases how the Department of City Planning puts these design principles into practice with real-world project examples, some of which will be discussed here tonight. In the past, DCP engaged with AIA New York to obtain feedback, and I have to say it's been a wonderful partnership, and it's something that we look to continue throughout the years. So without further ado, I'd like to take this time now to introduce our keynote speaker tonight, Mr. Dan Garodnick. Appointed in February of 2022 by Mayor Eric Adams, Mr. Garodnick currently serves as Director of the New York City Department of City Planning and co-chair of the City Planning Commission. He also served as a member of the New York City Council for 12 years, representing the east side of Manhattan, and was known as one of the most independent voices and effective legislators. That says a lot to his dedication, his drive, and motivation. He's also chaired the City Council's Planning and Economic Development Committee and served as a member of the Land Use Committee, where he authored and passed 60 bills. It would be great if we can get our government to do that on a federal level. These bills included relief for small businesses from the commercial rent tax, a right to tenants to sue landlords for harassment, a biotech tax credit, transparency in the use of economic development incentives, and the city's first green energy code, as well as various other good government reforms. Immediately before taking the helm at the City Planning Commission and the Department of City Planning, Mr. Garodnick was president and CEO at the Riverside Conservancy, a not-for-profit organization advocating for a 6-mile park on the Manhattan's west side. Please join me in extending a very warm welcome to Mr. Dan Garodnick.
Well, thank you very much for that very generous introduction, and good evening, everybody. It's nice to be here with you. And I want to thank the team at the AIA and the Center for Architecture for hosting this event. We at City Planning really value this partnership, and we're really excited about it. And to everyone here tonight, we appreciate your spending part of your evening with us as we celebrate the release of our Principles of Good Urban Design. You heard a little bit about my background, and that I have now been at the Department of City Planning for 2 years. And I will tell you that now, having spent 14 years in government and 3 in the not-for-profit sector adjacent to government, I have never seen a harder working, more mission-driven, intelligent group of government servants and public servants. I feel very honored to be in this crowd, and certainly the folks that you're going to be hearing from tonight. Really tremendous work. And at this juncture at the Department of City Planning, we are working to address New York City's housing crisis and bolster its economy by planning vibrant neighborhoods that have affordable mixed-income housing, great access to jobs and services, a public realm that is beautiful and inviting, and safe mobility options for pedestrians, cyclists, and drivers. Urban design, the process of shaping buildings, streets, and open spaces, cuts across all of this work. And getting the urban design right is critically important. The design of our streets, buildings, plazas, parks, other shared spaces, it determines how we get around. It determines how we interact with one another. Good urban design makes people feel safe and comfortable and connected. And it's important that good urban design be practiced democratically, because it affects us all. Whether it's the buildings that we live in, the streets that we cross, the parks that we play in, or even bigger issues of housing, climate adaptation, public spaces more generally, or transit accessibility. Questions of design are always at stake. So, what makes good urban design work? How can we make it accessible to a wider audience? Well, that's what this Principles of Good Urban Design guidebook is all about. Created by our Urban Design Office, this guidebook explains and illustrates New York City's urban design principles, providing a shared set of design terms and values that New Yorkers can use to advocate for positive change in their neighborhoods and across the city. The four guiding principles are enhancing people's daily lives, caring for a neighborhood's history, embracing New York City's dynamism, and confronting society's greatest challenges. As you heard a moment ago, these principles were first released in 2017 and transformed into a full-fledged illustrated guidebook through an extensive public engagement process that reflects the input of a wide variety of stakeholders, including 1,500 New Yorkers who submitted feedback online. It's a pretty remarkable number. 1,500 New Yorkers commenting on any subject is itself impressive, and certainly here. Inclusive design requires a shared, accessible framework, and this guidebook reflects just that. I think it's worth noting as well that this impetus to make our rules, regulations, and guidelines clear and accessible is driving so much of the work that we're doing at the Department of City Planning right now. In the last year, we have developed new digital tools that put planning data at New Yorkers' fingertips, things like the Population Fact Finder, map viewer tools that visualize census data, the DCP housing database to see where new housing is actually being built. Right now, we're advancing an ambitious plan called City of Yes that's designed to replace outdated 20th century zoning regulations with clear, sensible rules that meet our 21st century needs. New York City's Principles of Good Urban Design was created in that same spirit. And I will note that our City of Yes proposals, I think one of my last occasions being right here in this room, was talking about our first of 3 City of Yes proposals on carbon neutrality, which has already passed the City Council. The second one on economic opportunity, we expect to vote on at the City Planning Commission on Wednesday. And then the third on housing opportunity will be coming to a City Council near you in the end of 2024. All important initiatives. In addition to explaining our urban design principles, the guidebook that we're here for tonight illustrates how they're put into practice with real-world examples of high-quality design. And they include the recently opened Sendero Verde in Harlem, the world's largest fully affordable passive house building, a waterfront open space along the Gowanus Canal that nods to the area's industrial heritage while addressing environmental challenges, and the East New York Neighborhood Plan for new housing, economic development, community services, and public spaces in a historically underinvested neighborhood. And we have many neighborhood planning projects that are right now in the works, from the East Bronx to Long Island City, Jamaica, Atlantic Avenue in Brooklyn, Midtown Manhattan. They are shaped by our urban design principles, and we are excited to be moving all of them forward right now. As these examples demonstrate, good urban design not only improves the built environment and enhances our daily lives, it brings us together into conversation, into collaboration, and it can help make our city a more equitable, resilient, and affordable place to live, which is really what we are striving to do in all of our work at the Department of City Planning. So with that, I want to thank you for your excitement about our release of these principles. I want to congratulate Eric Gregory and his entire urban design team, many of whom are here tonight. You guys are awesome. Yeah, let's do that. We are really excited to continue to put your work product into action. Congratulations to all of you. Thank you very much.
Good evening. Thank you for having me and the urban design team here this evening. I'd like to thank the AIA for the continued partnership that stretches back before my time, whether to gather events like this, or tackling climate crisis to inform our zoning, or work with multiple city agencies to improve programs like open restaurants. It's clear the critical role that your members play in making a better New York City. Thank you to Fu and Jessica and the Planning and Urban Design for arranging and organizing the event, and to the Center for Architecture staff for planning and execution. Thank you, Greg, for your opening remarks on belonging. We believe that the principles of good urban design align with your direction for the year, as we'll share in a moment. And to Dan, for being here this evening to speak on the importance of quality design as we push the larger City of Yes initiatives and bringing more New Yorkers into the planning conversation with your proactive approach to communicating the work of the department and the commission. My name is Eric Gregory. I serve as the Chief Urban Designer at City Planning. I've been with the department since 2011 and fortunate to work on many projects across the city of varying scales. Tonight, we are here to share with you all the principles of good urban design for New York City. We'll provide some context on urban design in New York City and our roles within city government. We'll share with you our process for updating the principles and provide an overview of the guidebook, a first of its kind for city planning. We're attempting to mix things up a bit with a round robin where we'll hear from a broad swath of city makers on how their work speaks to these principles. We've asked them to keep their remarks short so that we can have time for your thoughts and questions at the end. In each of your chairs, you'll have a postcard, and these are questions that we have for each of you. If you can navigate now to menti.com and use the code that you see on your screen to enter in. These are the same questions that we've asked our speakers to share. And for some reason, if you're not able to do Menti tonight, there is also an email address on the postcard where you can also share your thoughts. And for those joining online, it's urbandesign@planning.nyc.gov. So please, if you have a project in mind that exudes the principles of good urban design, please share it on the Menti. If you have a suggestion about how this resource can be a part of your work, or for making them actionable, we would love to hear it. We'll check back in a little bit later on that. So, in short, urban design is about people and how they interact and experience their city as they move through the buildings, sidewalks, and streets, the plazas, the parks, and the waterfronts. At NYC Planning, we shape the city through design review of projects going through the public review process, affectionately known as Uniform Land Use Review Procedure, or ULURP. We help shape design proposals from private developers to promote the quality of the built environment throughout the city. You'll hear later on from Matthew Washington on how we collaborated on Walkerway Village, and from Dan Kaplan on the importance of the first 30 feet of buildings. Both we've worked with over the years. Good urban design supports sound planning by bringing design lens to citywide initiatives, incorporating design best practices into such policies as economic opportunity, which aims to modernize the city's zoning regulations to support small businesses, create thriving commercial corridors, and bolster New York City's economic prosperity. This is akin to Ya-Ting's focus as the Chief Public Realm Officer on delivering more high-quality public space projects faster, and you'll hear from her a bit later. We also help to define clear visions for the built environment during neighborhood planning efforts. We can inform by informing zoning regulations. Bronx Metro North is a great example of this, where around new Metro North stations, the plan proposes density and uses through public and private investments in housing, jobs, programming, and more to bring the community's life to vision. We also support and complement the work of other city agencies and entities by providing urban design analysis and expertise. We bridge the gap between our work and the public through tools, resources, and research. The Connected Communities Guidebook, shown here, was a collaboration with the New York City Housing Authority to establish design guidelines for open space and infill projects. Later, Delma Palma, who we worked with on this publication, will share how she's pushing for quality design in her current role. And through civic engagement, by creating tools to get more people involved in urban design and city planning, as shown here as part of the Cross Bronx study, working with our Bronx office and community planning and engagement teams to develop multiple ways to connect with residents. You'll hear later from Emily Haynes and Priyanka Jain on how they bring more New Yorkers into the design and planning conversation as well. It is our mission at City Planning to shape a more livable city by advocating for high-quality design of the built environment, and we try to do this as much as possible with New Yorkers. Which brings us to the principles. The principles for good urban design in NYC were first released in 2017. The aim was to guide the city, community board members, and anyone working to promote the livability and vitality of our neighborhoods and the city overall. They were created with practitioners familiar with the practice of planning and urban design, and as such, it may not have reached where we had hoped it had. While we often referenced them in our work, we found that there was a need to make them more actionable and applicable to our daily work. And then 2020 came. This is a photo taken by a fellow colleague. It represents a transition point, a point of reflection, of importance and value of the public realm, of vibrancy, of open space, and quality. This is an opportunity to reflect, given everything happening around us, from the pandemic to protests, a need to reflect our current realities and re-examine the values we placed in the process of design. Intentional to this effort is to bring the public into the conversation on design. So we embarked on a multi-year engagement process that included community board meetings, including all 5 borough boards, which helped spread the word and creation of an interactive website, which we heard from over 1,500 New Yorkers from Staten Island to City Island, touching all 59 community boards. We participated in public events like Earth Day to get on the ground. We had some amazing workshops with the AIA members, design and planning professionals, to better understand how principles can collectively improve design outcomes. We, of course, connected with our interagency partners to find synergies among city agencies, and a roundtable discussion with developers to understand how good design can make more valuable projects. We heard a lot. Here's some small samplings of what we heard, but in short, they were insular in focus. The principles were high level and lacked clear grounding to everyday work. They needed to reflect current challenges and opportunities. We needed to be able to revisit them over time. And among the many things New Yorkers asked us is to better consider climate change, resiliency, and equity. So we feel that we've addressed these by making them more accessible to a wider audience, incorporating the feedback and suggestions, providing concrete examples, and expressing ways that we can put them into action and build dialogue on the quality of the built environment. These are the principles, which themselves were released in short form a year ago. They are, again, a set of values that we feel inform how we approach the design of the city. They are a lens with how we examine how the city looks, but also the experience of how it feels to live, work, come together, and move through the city. How design can support quality of life, well-being, and health, and how design can help foster a sense of belonging and civic pride. Our work is focused on elaborating, grounding, and explaining how to translate these values into action. As of this morning, the guidebook is available for download on DCP's website. There's also a QR code on your postcards. The 4 chapters are used to ground the principles of good urban design by providing clear use cases, articulating actionable goals, bringing each principle to life, and showing 5 built project examples that demonstrate intent and interaction between the principles. We'll take a brief dive through the material of the guidebook. The driving goals are to help set expectations that align with the vision for the city, shape better design outcomes through a shared approach, demonstrate how good urban design is more than just aesthetics, and bring more people into the conversation of planning and design. Chapter 1 is about justifying the need for use cases in the guidebook. We answer the question, what is urban design in New York City? Highlighting the importance of thinking about how people experience our city and how urban design is not only supports an attractive city, but is functional and dynamic, a city that feels safe and inclusive. Urban design requires thinking across a variety of scales. Good urban design is not only improves your experience when moving down the sidewalk, but it also identifies strategic opportunities for improving economic, social, and environmental conditions at the scale of a block, neighborhood, city, and even our region, ensuring that the city is a well-coordinated, adaptive, and that it performs to our diverse population. The principles of good urban design are shared values and goals New Yorkers have to help New Yorkers have constructive conversations about the future of the city. They guide people to think beyond hyperlocal challenges and identify ways that each project can lead to better neighborhoods and a better city. Whether you're a proud resident who attends a community board meeting, a parent who wants to shape a better future for your children, or someone who already has experience in planning and design, we hope that this guidebook will have something for you. The guidebook is a shared tool that can be used in a variety of ways, such as engaging at the local level, or guiding development teams in their design and planning process, or better integrating urban design and our city's policies and goals. The guidebook provides actionable goals to help people bring these principles to life, and we're going to walk through each principle using an example to highlight how objectives play out on the ground. Keep in mind that this is only a Cliff Notes version of what's in the guidebook. Whether it's a sidewalk that's wide enough for rush hour crowds, storefronts that enliven the street, or a plaza that has comfortable chairs to relax in, details and dimensions impact how people experience the city. Principle 1 is about sharing design strategies that can improve safety, accessibility, comfort, and beauty. Mixed-use buildings that are well connected to the neighborhood services, public spaces, and public transit are great examples of projects that exude the first principle. Cyrus House is an affordable housing infill project near Fordham Plaza in the Bronx. It uses spaces efficiently by prioritizing homes over parking spaces. On the ground floor, a mix of commercial and residential uses wrapped through 3 frontages. Large storefront windows and multiple building entries make the space feel vibrant and inviting. The building scale is broken down by changes in height, recessed walls, and changes in materials. The architectural details strengthen neighborhood beauty and promote walkability. Samantha Magistro will share her perspective on this project from the development side in a short while. Good urban design, like planning, involves rigorous process of investigation, engagement, and analysis to support thoughtful outcomes. Principle 2 shares actionable goals to strengthen the planning and design process, ensuring that new projects are shaped by the community and inform existing networks, assets, and identity. Collaborating with local leaders, from longtime residents and business owners to parents with young children, helps bring clarity to community needs. During hands-on meetings in the East New York, Cypress Hill, and Ocean Park, components of the East New York Neighborhood Plan took shape as community members spoke about their priorities. The East New York planning process was iterative, similar to a design process. Many interests, ideas, and objectives were shared from a variety of perspectives. Good urban design synthesizes this information by drawing out maps and diagrams to better understand the nuances of neighborhood spaces and their relationship to larger networks. This drawing was created to visually communicate where there are opportunities, so we can involve the right people to identify solutions. Iterative modeling is also a big part of neighborhood planning work. Good urban design analyzes how a building's form can respond to the site surrounding, like street width or open space adjacencies. It identifies where public realm improvements are needed to support land use changes and where land use can help activate the public realm. New York is a dynamic and vibrant world capital. Good urban design embraces the spirit and rhythm that is so characteristic to our neighborhoods. Principle 3 shares objectives for blending old and new, along with ambitions to spark creativity and innovation, and ensure that spaces are designed to celebrate public life. When developing city-owned land, we have a unique opportunity to shape sites programming and design through an extensive outreach process, like the one led by Housing Preservation and Development for Sendero Verde in East Harlem. The built outcome includes programming that attracts residents, students, workers of various professions, and visitors, adding energy and new experiences to the neighborhood. The elevated courtyard contains a variety of spaces that diversify East Harlem's public space network. The site plan arranged buildings to maximize sunlight within the open space, to reintroduce community gardens, along with flexible open spaces. Community uses and educational facilities are located in lower floors, which open directly to the plaza spaces. This activates the public space and provides people with convenient access between indoor and outdoor spaces. Our city faces many challenges, from climate risk to the housing crisis and social inequities. Principle 4 puts forth actions to help each project make progress towards a built environment that is healthy, inclusive, and adaptive, and a process that embraces diversity and facilitates mutual understanding. Principle 4 cannot be necessarily captured in a single project. But this example along the Gowanus Canal shows how certain objectives come to life. 300 Huntington sets the stage for the kind of development and quality open space that will be created along the canal. And it is unique in that its non-residential use will bring a variety of different people to the waterfront, providing opportunities for social interaction. The development includes environmental improvements such as site remediation techniques to capture stormwater and a dynamic esplanade design that addresses flood risk. Inviting seating areas and a variety of social spaces encourage people to enjoy their time in this public space. They will be surrounded by a diverse array of native and aquatic plants that can thrive in this environment and help restore the canal's lowlands ecosystem. Gina Worth will speak to the creation of this space as a lead design team. The guidebook also includes resources that help people who want to participate in shaping the future of their neighborhood. This example includes questions that a community member might pose when a new development is coming to their neighborhood. How does this project align with citywide goals? What are the proposed ground floor uses? Is there a need for a specific retail or community space? Are there opportunities to set the building wall back for key areas to create more space for people? Are just some of the questions that we've shown here. The guidebook includes a step-by-step user guide to help people determine when and how to get involved in various types of planning projects, not just those that the department is engaged in. And since the principles of good urban design are only a component of delivering quality to all New Yorkers, the guidebook links out to other design resources where people can explore specific topics within the field. We invite you all to explore the guidebook in more detail and would love to hear more from you on how we can make this resource a part of your work. NYC Principles of Planning of Good Urban Design is a living document, one that must be revisited and refined to meet the moment. The principles will always begin from the same starting point of people, their experience of the city, and how we can collectively make New York City a well-designed city for everyone. I'd like to thank all those who helped bring this to life. Many are here in this room tonight. To my amazing city planning colleagues, both past and present, for your vision and collaborative spirit throughout this journey, and a special thanks to the urban design team. Our work in many ways is just beginning. I'd now like to invite our speakers for the round robin portion up to the stage. I've attempted to introduce each of you already, but please share again for everyone. So we'll give everybody a moment to come up, and thank you. I think you can, whatever feels natural.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah, and you're just the next slide, I think.
Okay.
Yeah?
All right.
All right, cool.
Okay, that's me. Good evening, everyone. I am Ya-Ting Liu, New York City's Chief Public Realm Officer. I recently, not too long ago, just celebrated my 1-year appointment in this role. So I took the assignment literally, okay? It's 3 minutes, it's round robin, it's supposed to be very fast. I am told there's going to be Oscar wrap-it-up music if I drone on for too long, but the realm is big and there's a lot to talk about. So it was a little bit of a challenge, but I do want to say, just first and foremost, I guess going first prerogative, take up a little bit more airtime. Just want to, first of all, congratulate Eric and the entire urban design team at DCP. From the jump, they have been an absolute brain trust thought partner in helping me and my team at City Hall figure out the realm and how we prioritize and focus. So congratulations on that. And also shout out to AIA. I think I'm here more than I am at City Hall sometimes. I've been at so many different events. You all also have been just incredibly supportive from day one of the creation of this position within City Hall and being, again, incredible thought partners in so many important initiatives that we're trying to do here at City Hall. So I have one slide, the state of the realm. It is, when I was looking, sort of reflecting as Eric was doing his presentation, the way I think about it is sort of the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. But yet when it comes to particularly government, there are so many parts in trying to bring about an improved kind of built environment. And my role and my team's role here is to really help bring all of these different pieces from government that are involved, whether it is what I call the hardware piece, which is the actual physical capital projects, or the software piece, which is all the things that the public doesn't necessarily understand: the paperwork, the liability, the indemnification, the procurement, the RFP process, the activations, the programming, the permitting that goes into actually making these spaces well-maintained and programmed, spaces that you want to be in. And so that's really my focus and charge for the last year, and will be so going forward. And I hope, in terms of thinking about the legacy and impact, it is really trying to build up an infrastructure within City Hall to show the value and the importance of having a team at City Hall really dedicated and really supporting the incredible, what I've been calling the public realm Avengers across city government. They are there in every single agency trying to do this work. But they do need that support and backing from City Hall to clear the red tape, to make sure that we're cutting through all the different agency and institutional sort of inertia or concerns in order to bring projects into fruition. So I can go on, but I'm gonna leave a little teaser. You guys are gonna have to wait for all the details and specifics in our public realm report coming out soon. It's not as beautiful as this one, I'll just say that out front, but look out for it. We are working on a document that's going to really summarize and highlight some of the work that we've been doing and that we will do. But if you take nothing away from sort of my portion of the round robin, know this: I have been, and the team at City Hall, we have been just incredibly blown away. Whether you are a neighborhood group out in East New York, to the Manhattan Central Business District bids, to schools in the Bronx, to a restaurant, in the North Shore of Staten Island. I think that in every corner of the city, people immediately are excited about ways to improve public spaces. It is incredibly important to the economy of the city. It is also incredibly important to the quality of life. And I'm just so honored to be in this role, working with everybody in this room, our agencies across government, to make this happen. And I can't wait to continue to come back to this guidebook to make sure that, again, we're not losing sight of the whole and the importance of the whole of what we're trying to deliver collectively, which is a beautiful, vibrant, inclusive, safe, accessible city that all New Yorkers, whether you're 9 or 99, feel like you belong and that you want to be here, because there's no other place in the world that we would rather be. Thank you.
Good evening. So this is the part of the program where you say one of these things is not like the other, because my name is Emily Haynes. I am a Bronx native, and I am a public school teacher of 25 years, and a teacher leader, thank you, and a teacher leader ambassador through the Office of Teacher Leadership. And I'm sure there's a way to change this, but we don't have these fancy things at school. I'm here to thank my Department of City Planning friends for inviting me and for working with my amazing students these past 3 years at the Laboratory School of Finance and Technology in the South Bronx on 144th and Willis. And my friends at the Department of City Planning came to me because they realized that in order to democratize design, you need to go find the voices of the people who don't have, as Greg was saying, a place at the table, because they're not coming to the table, they're not going to community board meetings, they're not going to public hearings, because they're busy trying to survive in this city. And they came to my students and they came to me and they said, how can we work together to get your kids to think about this question? And they came and they listened to my students, and at first this was very difficult. Democratizing design is not easy. This was very difficult because you ask my students this question and they say, but Miss, we live in the South Bronx, and the South Bronx will always be dirty, and Manhattan will always be nice, and that's just the way it is, Miss. And so it takes a long time of listening to them and telling them that you really believe in them and that they really are allowed to dream. And then you find that they are actually very, very good at this, and that the principles of good urban design actually come very naturally to them because they are not just the leaders of tomorrow, they're the leaders of right now. So I'm going to share with you a few of the projects that they came up with, and I'm going to share a few words that my students wrote. Picture this. You wake up in the morning to the scent of fresh trees. There are flowers resting on the windowsill. Looking outside, you see bikers on the street pedaling freely. The buildings are colorful and varied, and each one has its own character. Each building ties into the character of the community, a heart of survival, creativity, ingenuity, and fellowship. You leave your home and walk down the street. The rooftops are decorated with trees, ivy, and flowers. The sidewalks are open and spacious and have designs that vary depending on where you are. Sometimes it looks like bricks. Sometimes it's wavy. The pizza place down the street has little slices with wings and halos painted on the sidewalk. You've reached the corner of the block now. The corner space, previously a parking lot for cars, is now a small park. This park has different trees from the rest of the area. It's like a small ecosystem. Next to it is a community help center, which gives residents a place to find support with healthcare, jobs, and recreation. You see a restaurant across the street. Looking up, one of the employees is on the roof, harvesting fruit and vegetables. Looking down on the street again, you see the train station. Inside, it is colorful and clean. The walls have art pieces from local artists. On the platform is a mosaic. A train is arriving. Inside, it is bright and cool. The seats are comfortable and clean. The train starts moving and exits the station smoothly and quickly. Public transportation has improved enough to remove cars from the road and allow for more pedestrian space. Bikes now replace cars. This is the Bronx in 2033. Every neighborhood has everything that its residents need, from government services and green jobs to playgrounds and park benches. Buildings and transportation are designed with the disabled in mind, and housing is affordable and well-maintained. Communities are distinct and memorable, and every place in the Bronx has something unique to offer. The Bronx has become very green, with nature interwoven into its heart like a strand of yarn in a sweater, with green energy sources like wind and solar power and resources such as rooftop gardens. The Bronx has become a green economic capital. So my DCP friends also have many very important friends who they invited to speak to my amazing students. And I invite you all to come. They'll be presenting again on April 4th. You're welcome to come visit us then or anytime, because students are brilliant and they are the leaders of right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Emily. That was inspiring. So I'm here. I'm Delma. I am VP of Design and Construction at Empire State Development, which is the state's economic development corporation. But before I was doing that, I was at NYC, and so I worked for several years with city planning on the Connected Communities Guidebook, which you all saw, and we were really trying to innovate in how you think of urban design and the public realm and public housing. And so I think in the project that I'm going to highlight, I want to really just emphasize that when we think of the public realm, we think of how it impacts our most vulnerable New Yorkers. So I want to speak today about the Creedmoor Community Master Plan, which is a project that the state embarked on about a year and a half ago to redevelop and re-envision what 58 acres in Eastern Queens could look like on the site of the Creedmoor Psychiatric Campus. So this is an underutilized area. The buildings are vacant, and knowing the housing crisis that we're in, we're looking at how we can entitle this land to really meet the housing needs of today. And so we've been engaging the community with the assistance of WXY and MUD Workshop on a series of engagement meetings, charrettes, workshops, and working with our partners at City Planning and DOT to figure out how this site can really connect into the surrounding neighborhood and house many more New Yorkers. So a little bit of the process that this would go through. We're currently still doing engagement, but we're also going through the entitlement phase of the land to be able to accommodate the density that we are looking for. And through the engagement process, which is pretty extensive, we've come to understand what the community wants, and a lot of these things are highlighted in DCP's guidebook. They're looking for the same things we're talking about tonight. Ways of interconnecting public spaces and improving them, making them more pedestrian friendly, improving the bike infrastructure in Eastern Queens, and providing alternative methods of transit. So here you can see sort of the housing typology, the varied housing typologies that are being offered through this Creedmoor Community Master Plan, providing affordable, supportive housing, rental opportunities, as well as homeownership. A school, a community center, looking at ways of using the historic buildings and adapting them to meet the needs of the community. So these are some of the highlights I wanted to make of the Community Master Plan, and I'm going to keep it short and sweet. We're going to look forward to, in the coming months, continue to work with our city partners at City Planning and DOT to really, through the design guidelines process, which is the state process, for ensuring that good urban design happens on these developments, continue to refine on a more granular scale what these things look like. For example, what the ground floor and transparency looks like, what potentially the use of public art and public spaces could look like. So those are some of the things we'll be continuing to do in the coming months. Thank you.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Good to see you. I can't wait to tell my wife that my name was on the wall at AIA, Center for Architecture. That's pretty cool. No, but thrilled to be here. I want to thank Eric and Sagi and the entire urban design team for having me here. Matthew Washington, Vice President and Chief of Staff of Phipps Houses. We build affordable housing in New York City, and we're proud of it. And just going to talk very quickly about two projects, very briefly, one leading to the other. But here's a picture of Via Verde, which is in the Bronx. A very funny story. Emily talked about one of these things not being like the other. That is not true. Next week, Friday, students from her school are coming to visit this building on a tour of the building organized by the Bronx office of the Department of City Planning. And so when Eric opened up his comments today and said it's all about people, it truly is all about people, and it's what the urban design team believes in, and it's why we love to partner with them and have such a great time. And so I bring this picture up of Via Verde because this was a 1.5-acre city-owned site. There was a design competition, and Phipps Houses collaborated with Jonathan Rose Companies, and we had two great architecture teams, Datner Architects and Grimshaw, and came up with this very neat, very cool design, 100% mixed income affordable housing, 171 rental units, and 151 rental units and 71 co-op units. So both affordable rental and home ownership. And that tower, up on the 20th story, that's affordable housing. And so this building, the challenge was to create something that's beautiful, that didn't skimp on design, and created spaces that were fun and enjoyable. And when residents go home, they feel home. They feel like someone cares for them. They feel like they are cherished. And we have about 40,000 square feet of rooftop open space for gardens for the neighbors, interior courtyard, and some really amazing things that happen. So by this time, Phipps had been around for just over 100 years, but we loved this project so much, and it had such an impact on the area that we decided this is how we're going to build in the future. And so we took this model of Via Verde, and we worked with Marvel Architects, Marvel Design, and came up with Rockaway Village in Far Rockaway, Queens. Functionally, this is, 5 or 6 Via Verdes on a 12-acre site that we're building. When we're complete with this project, we'll have 1,700 units of 100% affordable housing. And some of those designs, you can sort of see there is an open plaza right at the beginning, so people are welcomed in, the community, the residents, and when residents go into their building, they have interior courtyards, because we want to build community. It's great to have a building to go into, but when you can actually connect with your neighbors, because there's children's play areas on their way into their building, you functionally have clusters of multiple buildings, and so a single entry point will take you to 3 buildings, in some cases 2, but you're interacting. You see your neighbors. We've also put a concierge 24/7 in all of our buildings because it helps create community. You stop and talk to the person at your front desk to pick up your package, and then you meet your neighbors. And so a lot of the focus in how we design, how we create, is to create community and open up natural opportunities for community. Children's play areas, we have gyms because people like to work out, and we have other amenities that we put into our buildings that connect the community, that connect the residents in community, and really use it as design and focus on using great architects who get that and understand it, but working with our partners like the Department of City Planning Urban Design team to discuss this, because they're thinking, our primary objective, we manage our buildings, what are our residents experiencing when they go into the building? But the urban design team always challenges us and encourages us to think about the people who are going by, because they're just as much a part of the community as those who live inside of the building. And so how do we work and collaborate and create something functional? And here's just an image of the first phase of construction where we've completed the first really 5 buildings, and you can see that plaza that the public can go into, and then they residents branch off and go into their buildings to continue to build community. But the focus of this is how do we create community? Because it's about people. It's about making sure that people feel special and feel welcome and feel taken care of, not just those who live in the building, but those who experience and interact with the building. So thanks for letting me share a little bit, and excited to continue the dialogue.
Great. Hello. I'm Gina Worth. I'm a landscape architect and design principal and partner at Scape Landscape Architecture. I'm really excited to be here tonight in such esteemed company, and I really appreciate the invite from City Planning. So I was going to speak a little bit about some of our work along the Gowanus Canal. Kind of up here on the screen is an image of kind of like a visioning plan that we really worked with the Gowanus Canal Conservancy to put forward. And I think it really speaks to one of these principles about good urban design, is that good urban design really needs to be crafted to the community which it's in. Each community is different, and you really have to work directly with people to craft a vision over time. And so we were very lucky to help the Gowanus Canal Conservancy, who's a nonprofit stewardship group focused on improving the ecosystem of the Gowanus Canal. We were very lucky to help them articulate and create a true vision for what a cleaner, greener Gowanus could begin to look like. If you're familiar with the Gowanus Canal and its neighborhood in Brooklyn, it's a contaminated Superfund site, highly industrial past, and is also under the kind of process of being like rezoned and redeveloped for affordable housing and a more like greater mix of uses being built along the edges of the canal. The Gowanus Canal Conservancy really saw the power of harnessing community design energy and putting forward a vision for how this change could get the best possible result for the neighborhood, right? The Superfund cleanup is underway, a rezoning process was underway, a combined sewage and discharge remediation plan is also underway. We're also facing climate change. So many big issues were beginning to impact this neighborhood. And the Gowanus Canal Conservancy wanted to put forward a vision of how the neighborhood could really respond to these in a positive way that would lead to a better outcome. So we helped them develop this stronger framework for thinking about a more sustainable Gowanus that had a connected network of public spaces that reflected the industrial character, were adaptive and resilient to climate change, and really emphasized this mix of equitable access and uses along the canal. We tried to think very realistically about the spaces that would be available to the public with the design, thinking about how to work with the many different agencies that regulate space along the waterfront, and in particular working with the Department of City Planning, like waterfront zoning legislation and requirements for creating public access within approximately 40-foot wide public space adjacent to the canal. And so with the Conservancy, we developed this kind of larger framework plan and vision, and then also have the kind of privilege of working with some private landowners to actually implement this on the site, right? So I think it's not easy to work with the community to come up with a vision plan, but at a certain point, you also have to just apply it to a physical site and space. And that's what's so inspiring about the principles of good urban design, has lots of case studies and examples for how we can literally do that. Within this project, we thought about a whole kind of suite of ways of thinking about designing a resilient and kind of industrial-inspired landscape. Some of those are in the physical details of the space, thinking about the guardrail, thinking about an arbor structure, thinking about benches and the character of paving and seating elements and furniture elements within the landscape. How could those really be inspired by the fabric and the history of the Gowanus and reflect something that was truly unique to the community while being very durable and maintainable and cost-effective for a private developer to purchase? Our client on this project was Monadnock Construction, who was very interested in kind of embracing this industrial heritage. How do you create spaces that feel very dynamic and vibrant? So Eric called out the interesting mix of uses within this space. It hosts the contractor's office, but it also has other additional commercial space, and it has retail space that pulls out on the canal. And it has this active retail frontage that activates the canal and creates new destinations within the community. And from a flooding and sea level rise perspective, it's also designed to be very resilient. It's like a tiered system. There's a lower pathway and a higher pathway. So parts of the landscape that have large tree planting are lifted out of the floodplain, and lower edges step down so you can get close to the water. And even the lowest edges are tidal, so that you can have tidal ecosystems, thinking about biodiversity and improving biodiversity within this work. And so this is the example, this kind of 40-foot, approximately 40-foot wide public space that does really begin to think about adding tree canopy, mitigating urban heat island, creating different spaces to gather along the edges, but also reflecting the industrial character of the canal. So the project is kind of in its soft opening phase right now, and when the plants awake from dormancy, it'll be a much greener space, but definitely invite you to come visit the edges of the Gowanus soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Gina, for sharing that incredible work on more sustainable Gowanus. I'm Priyanka Jain. Let me just bring this. I'm Principal and Director of Development at 3x3, which is an inclusive urban planning consultancy designing for systemic change. And thank you for inviting us to speak about the civic engagement side of this book. I'll begin with a statement that's mentioned in this book. And it says, urban design is not just about aesthetics. It's also a process for mobilizing local knowledge through stakeholder engagement and research to support intentional design. But what does it take to bring different stakeholders with different understandings and lived experiences of the built environment that surrounds us? That's what we work on at 3x3. And we employ a community-centered design framework to guide our engagement work. The spectrum goes all the way from reflection to action, and we start by understanding and reflecting on our own biases to build reflexivity, which I will talk about on the next slide, but also as the basis for creating access and enabling environments for people to meaningfully participate in a design process. As designers, we facilitate decisions that affect communities. Whose preferences we privilege and how we understand them is shaped by our own identity and biases. Positionality is a practice that understands the intersecting systems of oppressions we have experienced in relation to those we seek to engage with. It is the basis, starting point from which we understand power and privilege asymmetries that show up in our work. Being reflective practitioners can help us facilitate access to different types of knowledge and perspectives while course-correcting our own biases. Sometimes that might mean we work directly with the communities, but other times it could be that we are only supporting the work and we are building capacities of our community partners who bring the cultural competency within their communities. In order to support more designers, we've developed a community-centered design toolkit and trainings. It draws from a decade of experience developing methods that center communities in design, planning, and policy decisions. It's a training series for teams to integrate critical reflection, collaboration, and inclusion into their everyday work. Broadly divided into 3 tracks. The first one focusing on how to honor and gain new perspectives in any investigation, research, or ongoing learning and analysis, to how do we build our skills to create an inclusive facilitation environment during civic engagement or when we bring communities together to reimagine future, but also all the way to understanding what does it take to build coalitions and institutionalize change. So I'll just stop there, invite you all to our inclusive facilitation fundamental trainings in spring.
Hi, I'm Samantha Magistro, CEO of Bronx Pro, an affordable housing developer, property manager, and general contractor. I'm joining my housing colleague Matthew in talking about an affordable housing project also in the Bronx. If that was a large-scale conversation, we're going to talk about the might of a small scale, of good urban design at small scale. I also wanted to talk a little bit about how good urban design is a complement and enhance all of our development. In fact, it's integral to meeting our development goals. Just to talk a little bit about the project, I'll call it 4697 3rd Avenue, also known as Cyrus House. It's 54 units, 8 stories, built to passive house. It was designed by Curtis and Ginsberg Architects. It was an early benefit of the ZQA amendments, which was exciting. It struggled and built through COVID by essential workers. And today it's 100% occupied by families earning anywhere from 30 to 80% of AMI. The project was financed in partnership with the New York City, with HPD, with New York State HCR, JP Morgan Chase, and Enterprise. Similar to a lot of affordable housing and even market rate developers, Bronx Pro develops housing with a sense of intention, and we want to broaden the community impact of our housing investments. Good urban design principles were essential to meeting our development goals for this project. In fact, this was a city-owned RFP. I opened up that RFP submission and I was like, what were we thinking? Like, what were we trying to do? How were we trying to win this project? And all of the principles of good urban design were present in that submission. And I will just say again, this was designed by Curtis and Ginsberg Architects, and without them, that was a big part of the success here of good urban design. As a city-owned site and an HPD RFP, the primary goal, to build affordable housing, principle number 4, to take care of an important challenge to society. What were our sub-goals? We wanted to take something that was underutilized, a vacant lot that was an NYPD site, and transform it into something thriving and long-lasting and beautiful for our residents in the Bronx. You'll see that's principle 1, principle 3 in place. Our second main goal here was to build healthy and sustainable homes. The project is built to passive house. The interior is built to promote the health of our residents. And you can see here again, principle 1, enhancing the daily lives of our residents. Principle 4, society challenges are met there as well. And finally, I think what was unique about this site is its location, and we really wanted to leverage the assets of this Fordham neighborhood. You have Fordham Avenue, you have Metro North, and that was really important to think about how our submission could really take and enhance those local assets. You don't have that in every Bronx community. So here, the project is anchored by a ground floor commercial space that's currently has 3 tenants, providing new amenities for this community. And then again, that would be, Principal 2 and Principal 3 that are successful here. So I'll keep it sweet and short, but I really appreciate our project being included in this study. And thank you for your time today.
All right, so I think I'm batting clean up here, so you hold on and you'll be able to go back to the bar. Dan Kaplan, senior partner, FX Collaborative Architects, and I'm thrilled to be here. The guidelines are great, and I was really struck by the hand sketches that illustrate each principle. They're so evocative, and there's so much craft and care that is all about how the building meets the street with canopies and storefronts and entrances and signage and people, and it really resonated. It really resonated with us at FX because we're sort of obsessed by the what I call the first 30 feet of the building, and it's the first 30 feet is where the public realm is and where the building is, where they overlap, and like at the beach where the ocean is and where the beach is, it's like where the kids play. It's, as I say, where the magic happens, and that's really such an important part of urban design. I'm just going to illustrate that in a few ways. This is navy green in the Bronx. The first is layering and human scale. And if you look at this slide on your right, it's so important to delaminate, to spread out, to really make a zone where this overlap can happen between the public and private, from the street to the sidewalk, to the planter, to the stoop, to the entrance, to the parlor inside. That this whole thing becomes one deep zone. Second, a vertical rhythm of every let's say 7 to 10 paces, 25 to 30 feet, so that when you walk down the street, the rhythm of the walking and the rhythm of the building are somewhat resonant with each other. And third, the first 30 feet is where one should have the most detail, materialities, shadow, depth, really craft of the building. The second principle or strategy, the guidelines really talk about enhancing and embracing the public realm, and it all comes down to transparency. I know there's been so much architectural ink spilled over transparency and its virtues. I won't bore you, but to me, it really comes down to this notion of transparency and of experience. So on the right, you're in the lobby, your sense of quality of experience, of engagement with the street is enhanced, that you have the sort of activity at you. And then on the left, if you're, let's say, the woman in red walking down the street, your sense of engagement with the city, sense of security, sense of really belonging, as was said before, is enhanced because of the public and active space, what's happening on the other side of the glass. This could be lobbies, as long as they're active. It could be retail. It could be community space. But as long as there is this notion of transparency and activity within the building. And then finally, the guidelines, I think, rightfully call us to, in urban design, to confront the challenges of climate change and rising tides. And a lot of times I think about design as reconciling seemingly irreconcilable things. In this case, the need and desire for keeping the the people and the goods dry and safe, and also all those needs and desires we just talked about in terms of making a great active streetscape. So instead of having a 6-foot-high, barrier, concrete wall between the street and the inside, in this project in Brooklyn, we've really created a stepped storefront and show window that's really floodable, so that when you're walking down the street for the 99.9% of the times when it's dry and not flooding, that you really have a great experience. But for that time when it does, the people and the goods and the building are high and dry. So with that, I will just say, remember the first 30 feet and take good care of it, because that's where the magic happens. And I'll turn it over back to Eric, and thank you. It's such a joy to be part of this round robin.
Thank you, speakers. That was wonderful. I think even better than I could have expected. I really appreciate each of you showing up and sharing your perspectives on good urban design. So we're actually on time. I wanted to check with my colleague, Crystal Ekshi.
Thanks for the first question. So the first question that was asked in our mentee was, do you have a project in mind that exudes the principles of good urban design? Thank you for sharing. Gowanus, rezoning, also included in that was presented. And Rockaway Boardwalk was one of them. Little Island, also demonstrating principles of good urban design. Sorry. Yeah.
Come on, if you want. Yeah.
Can everyone hear me? So Gowanus was rezoning, was one of those that exudes the principles of good urban design. Little Island, we have Rockaway Boardwalk, Hunters Point, Domino Sugar Factory, Brooklyn Bridge Park, Waterline Square. I'd also like to open it up for those that may not have had a chance to submit to the mentee, if anyone wants to just quickly share a project that comes to their mind.
We can also, open it up to questions as well. So the time now is just to kind of hear any thoughts and questions, along with maybe any ideas to the questions that we posed.
Hello, I'm Lenny Schwendinger. I'm a nighttime designer. And so that is basically urban design as it relates to lighting of cities. And I just wanted to point out that 50% of our time was not represented today. So in other words, all the backgrounds were white. All of the descriptions, the sketches were daytime. And I just am here to enthuse you about looking at night as a place. The criteria for night: belonging, fear, poetry, romance, urban design as it relates to transportation, flexibility, exercise, walkability after dark. I think all of those issues relate to this wonderful new urban design principles, but you've left out 50%. Thanks.
I think it's a wonderful comment. Thank you for that. Always good to hear feedback and on how we can make these better, especially how we illustrate them. There are a few objectives in the guidebook that do speak to temporal aspects, but certainly I think you're picking up on a larger theme here that would be helpful for us to kind of speak to going forward. So thank you for the feedback.
If you know Lenny's in the room, you know you're going to hear about nighttime. My question, though, is about time in a different way. That I think it was maybe 2 years ago, you and your team were here with practitioners working through how to revision. You produced the guidebook at a time when there's so much incredible change happening in the realm. How are these going to stick around? Are they timeless in some kind of way? Did you consider that period of incredible change when you're trying to anchor both the current moment, but the usefulness of these principles as they're going to be deployed the next 5, 10 years. Can you talk a little bit about that process and whether you think they're going to endure as tools?
Yeah, thank you. I think that's something that's been centered on our minds. Certainly, we have to, speaking earlier with Jesse, and like this is a labor of love. This is something that we have lots of other work we're kind of focused on at the department, and so sometimes this kind of is a side burner project in some cases, and I think that's something we have to keep in mind is our ability as an agency and city to put effort into revising these. I think it's something that we had always envisioned on a 5-year time frame to kind of come back and look at. There'll be new objectives, new ways of speaking things, new people as part of the conversation, and they'll absolutely have to be revamped and questioned again. I think it took us from 2017 until now to kind of do that process, and certainly, additional feedback always comes of new things that we can integrate into this. We heard a lot of ideas today from our City Planning Commission about how we at least can start with what this is at this point in time and how do we move this forward. We've got a lot of work to do to kind of get this back into all of our agency partners' minds, as well as getting out on the ground and kind of working through the next phase. So, yeah.
Just to follow, I think they're incredibly resonant and as abstract as you could possibly be in an actionable way. So I think that it's remarkable in the sense that to boil it all down to 4 things that you can then take to the table in so many different ways is, I hope, something that you can, in the same way that you did incredible outreach in the process, going to be able to capture the impact that these tools then have as they're kind of continually deployed. So.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hi, my name is. Hi, can you hear me? Yeah. Hi, my name is Gagan. I'm an architect. I wanted to. I don't know if I'm putting this in right words, but in terms of homeless population in the city, how does urban design or the work by CPC affect them, or the guidelines get affected by the situation in the city?
Yeah.
And also immigrants.
Yeah.
Talking of current times.
Yeah. I think this is an area where design is of course a part of that discussion, but that entails much larger policy and planning. If I'm going to speak from city planning's lens, it speaks to larger planning and policy challenges that we face. Our commissioner, Dan Grodnick, was here earlier and spoke about the need to our housing opportunity initiative, which is really going to see what we can do from the kind of regulation of zoning side of things to increase more housing production in the city, and that will be key. So, I think we were actually having some robust conversations today in the office regarding this, and it's how we're going to go about making sure that folks understand the crisis that we're in, to share ways in which not only city planning but many other city agencies are in this this effort to create more housing for New Yorkers and opportunities. And certainly there are lots of examples of housing units that are tailored to those populations where design is important, and it isn't an afterthought. A name escapes me now on some of those, but I know that that's definitely the mission of many different city agencies to combat that. So, I think when we get to the point within city planning of helping to design those projects with the various other parties, that's when the principles of good urban design can be hopefully a good tool to tap in to make sure that those are quality spaces that give not only homes, but the services that those folks need.
I'm going to just share one small anecdote. Like, I mean, it's an incredibly complex issue. Oh, sorry. But just the project that I 4697 3rd Avenue, it was originally designed for 45 units, and then when we were some zoning changes with DQA, we were able to build 54. And so that is like very small and very incremental, but that's what we're talking about is like unlocking like what can be built. And we were able to include 8 units there for formerly homeless residents. And then I also think when you think about design, your housing is just one piece of surviving homelessness. It's like, how do you come home? What is the space? Is it healthy for your children? What opportunities? Can you go downstairs and get fresh food? So I think there's a lot there when you're thinking about housing, but of course it's very complicated. I think this is a piece to an overall effort to work on that issue.
Hi, I'm interested in asking about what you just mentioned, the engagement with other city agencies. Anybody who knows me knows I'm concerned about designing for waste in the public realm. Very happy to see the new waste bins were illustrated in your illustrations, which the AIA was part of, the new litter bins. But I'm just wondering, in terms of integration with what DOT are doing or what Department of Sanitation are doing in the public realm, how will that process happen, like ensuring other agencies are on board?
Yeah, thank you. I mean, it's, I think Yating was kind of speaking to some of these aspects, and that it is quite challenging. There's many different agencies. They each kind of have their own purview or touch certain things. I think, we see this as a starting point, and certainly whenever, we're talking about containerization or the changes to curb adjacent uses, that's going to involve a host of other agencies, as you're well aware of. And I think that what our hope is that going forward, we can use this as a way, how can you use this as a way to kind of bring those other agencies along, right? It's going to take all of us to address a lot of these challenges. And certainly, what I've experienced over the years, there was, working groups on security infrastructure and how do we think about, what's another solution than just the bollard. Certainly, we have to make sure that our streets and sidewalks are safe to walk on. It's not exactly your example that you're mentioning, but, that was spearheaded by Public Design Commission, who I know some of our colleagues are in the audience tonight, and they really helped corral DOT and NYPD and others to kind of come together and like go out and kind of see how this was, hear from different perspectives, even within city government, around how we can make streets safer. So, I think that, the work that you've been doing through Center for Zero Waste is something that we're eager to kind of pick up back with you specifically, and also think about how that balances with the other things that DOT and DSNY want to do with curb space. But certainly there are aspects of that do fall to zoning, and where can we improve that within zoning to kind of accommodate those things is key. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Suhail. I don't envy your job. It's you have so many things that you have to balance, and I'm not an architect by trade, so please ignore the ignorance if it comes across. You talked about addressing homelessness, the waste aspect, providing housing for a lot of people, and zoning on top of that, which you just mentioned. Increasing density adds a lot of stress to the existing infrastructure for the city in terms of waste or utilities. How do you address that through good urban design? Because those are things out of your control, I'm assuming, or how do you plan to address those? Thank you.
Very much so. Thank you for the question. So I think what I could relate this to is maybe the neighborhood work, where we have our own capital planning division that really works with other capital agencies, Department of Transportation, DEP, Environmental Protection, and others that are really responsible for handling a lot of the infrastructural needs of the city. And I think what we try to do through those processes, whether it's East New York is one example that we talked about tonight, Bronx Metro North is another one that's happening now. we have to be able to work with them, right, to take a neighborhood plan, to understand what are the challenges from an infrastructural standpoint now, and with this new growth, how are we going to achieve that going forward? So many of these neighbors have long-standing issues that, even without the density, they have to find a way to ameliorate. And I think that that's where urban design and urban designers at our agency and others can be key, because they can help draw those solutions out. They can work with other expertise in engineers, other planners to kind of think through what the universe of options are, and we can be the ones that can kind of help test and draw that out, so that when it comes time to decide within a capital budget process which projects can move forward, we at least have ways that we can kind of communicate that through drawing and through iteration and through analysis. So, there's different ways that plays out, and certainly we're in a constrained moment now. About how to meet the infrastructural needs of the city, but that's something that is embedded within our neighborhood planning work from the start.
Hi. First of all, Eric, congratulations. This is incredible. I'm Sriyoshi. I'm the Executive Director at the Public Design Commission, and I've seen this throughout the years. And my question is around how can we treat these principles almost as a rubric for when we evaluate projects, and at which level? So is there a way to think about these principles and use it as an advocacy tool throughout our design review process? And which principle will align best at what phase of a project, conceptual design development, or like later into construction evaluation? So looking forward to working on that.
Yeah, thank you.
guys.
Yeah. A similar question came up today from our planning commissioners, is like if this could be a way to attach it as a scorecard, and certainly that would take some thinking. But at minimum, I think right out of the gate, Sagi emailed our colleagues at HPD, at Housing Preservation and Development, and like, hey, can you just add this to your RFPs as like a resource, right? So like that's just one small way that we're already starting to do that. And I think, happy to work with you and other city agencies to kind of think through how to embed these in other areas. So yeah, thank you. Yep, good.
All right, thank you, Eric, and the DCP team and our esteemed panel. It's a great pleasure, again, to start the week with you and give it back to you tonight, but also to end the evening so that we do have some time if you'd like to interact with our invited guests. Thank you so much.